Welcome to another episode of The Heart of the Matter. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that I think is very important, which is debt. And I'm going to try and help you be debt-free in 2015. I'll provide certain tips. We also have a guest with us who's going to share her journey, her story on how she has been able to go out of debt. But first of all, when you think of debt, you think of a negative thing. But there are two types of debt, actually. There's the good debt and there's bad debt. Now, what is good debt? Good debt is basically debt that you incur for the purposes of purchasing an asset. So what is an asset? An asset is basically an item that generates cash or increase in value. So for instance, you take debt to buy land or property or to further your education. That is considered good debt. Or you take on debt to finance your business. So you find that a lot of finance houses would encourage you to take on debt for your business. And that's a good thing, because if you look at a lot of also the high net worth individuals or wealthy individuals, you find that their companies are in debt. Now, why is this a good thing? It's because, first of all, as a business owner, if you take on debt, you have to look at the cost of debt and the estimated returns that you expect to gain from your business. So if you, for instance, you take on debt of 100,000 naira and it's going to cost you 20%, you're going to pay interest of 20%. But when you've done your projections, you expect to receive a rate of return of 60% in your business. Now, 60% is higher than 20%. So your profit is able to offset the cost of debt. So that's why it's good debt. But what is bad debt? Bad debt is basically debt that you take to incur liabilities. And liabilities are things that would decrease in value or reduce your cash flow. So for instance, you take on debt to buy a car. But when you buy a car, as soon as you drive out of the car store, the value of the car decreases. You can never get, even if you sell it on that day, you won't sell it at the same amount that you paid for it. And also, it's going to cost you to maintain your car. So you would consider debt on a car as bad debt. Or for consumables, so things like you want to buy an iPad, or you want to buy a phone, or go on holiday. Those are considered consumables, and that's what bad debt is. But you know, at the end of the day, we've talked about good debt and bad debt. The ideal situation would be to be completely out of debt. So you find that there are certain companies like Chick-fil-A in America and Microsoft that are actually debt-free. So that's the ideal situation. However, if you're going to incur debt at all, it is better to incur good debt. So we're going to now talk to our guest, Timi Onabolu, who's going to share her story with us. Timi, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm a young adult. I'm a mother. I'm a businesswoman. I'm an educator, and I'm passionate about writing. Okay. So I've been running my own business for about 10 to 12 years.
What do you do? What's your business?
I run a children's events company. That's what I've always done. I've always ventured around kids. So at the moment, we're trying to change the company to develop the company into an edutainment company. Okay. So that's where entertainment and education meet. Okay. You know, so we want to establish the brand as an edutainment company.
Okay. So how did you get into debt?
I got into debt by being, I wouldn't call it over ambitious, but I would say that I bit off a bit more than I could chew. So what happened was in December of 2012, I had a really good year where, I mean, seasonal goods, I dabble in seasonal goods. I make really nice gift boxes and, you know, just gift packages. And December 2012 was a remarkable year for that business. In December 2012, I really didn't have enough, stock or resources to meet up the orders I was getting even before Christmas had come. So I thought, okay, next year I'm not going to be caught unawares. Next year I'm going to be ready. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So December 2013, even before the orders came in, I had gone and acquired a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, I didn't get, you know, the demand didn't come. It wasn't as much as I had hoped for or anticipated, so I was stuck.
So you essentially found yourself in debt.
I found myself in debt.
How did this make you feel?
Initially, that debt from the business, I wasn't particularly concerned about because I took it that it was a bad year. It would cripple me for the first quarter of the next year, which was 2014, but I'll bounce back. But with all things business, you just never know, and I never did bounce back. January, February, and March, right up until now, the business just never, you know, did much because of the season I was going through at the time, you know. So instead of making up and paying back this debt quickly, I was now having to borrow to offset the debt and so many other situations I was now finding myself in. So it was very crippling.
It had a ripple effect on other areas of your life.
Yes.
And even your business, because I can imagine then you weren't able to even focus on the goal or the vision.
No. It was very distracting, yes. For the business, I had plans. You know, when you just make vague plans, this is what I'm going to do this year, we should, you know, do this, this, and the other. There are things that ordinarily I would never do. I mean, at some point, I actually started another business just to help my cash flow. You know, I started a small chops business on the side just so I could pay my bills, but I just got more and more into debt because I had to borrow that money to start that business.
So how much were you in debt total?
As of ending of January, February, when I admitted to myself that there was an issue, I was 1.84 million naira into debt.
So what steps did you take to getting yourself out of debt?
I spoke to a financial coach, yours truly, Omilola, and I just went to her and I said, look, I'm having issues. I want to breathe. I want to breathe. I want to be normal. I have plans, and my plans are big, and you know, I need to take this away from me, and I don't know how it's going to happen. And I was just very open, and I think I was willing to make a change, and that's what I did.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back to it. Viewers, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Watch your favorite Heart of the Matter episodes online at www.theheartofthematter.tv. Also, check out exciting behind-the-scenes photos. Leave your comments and like us on Facebook.
Welcome back to the Heart of the Matter. We still have with us Timi, who's going to now tell us how she got out of a debt of 1.8 million naira. So what happened next when you approached your coach, which is myself?
You asked me the source of all the debts, and we just took baby steps in breaking down the debt, identifying the sources, and prioritizing how to pay off each debt. It was kind of hard to come up with a plan as to how to pay these monies back, because you knew and I knew that my situation at the moment was limiting. What I mean is, I wasn't really working. You know, I took a break from the business to pursue a project which was developing this edutainment brand. So having no income coming in, how do you plan towards paying off a debt? You know, which is where, you know, you introduce the God to my money matters, and that's what happened.
But what was it that you had to do?
I had to list out all my debts.
Okay.
I had to I had to quantify my debts on paper. I did an Excel sheet and listed out every single debt, total amount, and you know, dates, details of how I acquired that debt.
Okay. And doing that, how did that make you feel?
That was like you're asked to go fight a giant, and you're scared. You just heard the word giant, 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 and you're just thinking it's one huge thing the size of this building, and you get there and the giant is the size of your nose, but it just has a really foul smell, and you're like, really? I can do this? So it was like, it was confronting a very scary giant, you know.
But it sort of provided clarity?
A lot of clarity, you know, because I could see that, okay, you know, first, one of the things that also does is guilt. You just feel like, how did this happen? You know, how did I get here? This isn't me. You know, this doesn't work for me. And it just, I could see that the money didn't just disappear. I didn't use it for anything frivolous or anything like that. So, yes, it was very liberating to an extent.
So now you had written, you know, you had listed out your debt. Now, how are you going to pay this off? So can you tell us?
I really didn't have a plan to pay it off. You advised that I be hopeful and I be faithful and that I pray about it. At the time, I really felt you were spiritualizing a matter that was financial. But the truth is, that simple prayer, help us sort this out, opened a lot of doors for a lot of opportunities to take place, you know. Yes, that's what it did.
So when you looked at the debt, I remember saying that you first look at the ones that are of top priority, and you mentioned two of them, which are?
I think the initial one was I just felt hassled by the person I'd borrowed money from. The other one was being a single mom. I had special arrangements with my son's school, which meant I had longer to pay the fees than usual. But at this time, I was behind. So paying my son's fees at that point in time was a pressing need. You know, everyone had been patient, you know, everyone had been kind enough, you know. Anything more than that would have been taking advantage of a situation. So it really was important to me at that point to sort out my son's fees. But then I couldn't afford to pay anything without getting anything in. So yes.
So what happened after that?
After that, we said the prayer, and then we went ahead to try and figure it out. And all of a sudden, things started to happen. I think the week after, my mother called me, and you know, she asked for a meeting, and you know, we had this nice heart-to-heart about personal, family matters. And then from nowhere, she just said, oh, from today, I want to pay your son's school fees. I want to help you out with your son. He's my grandchild. I've never done this before. I'm going to do that as from today. And I think the fees were due like 2 or 3 days later. And she said, oh, not only that, you know, that she'll pay for his lessons, you know, his music lessons, his extracurricular lessons. So that was the first miracle. I think shortly after, someone offered me an opportunity to supply them every week with food for their meetings and stuff like that. So, you know, things like that just kept happening over and over again. And it was like, okay, so which one do I do? Which one don't I do? Which one will pay more? Which one's going to take energy, time, you know? And that was it.
So that simple prayer opened all these doors, and then you realized that the two, I remember you saying the first two, that the priority you now had, one had been taken care of by, you know, your mom, and the second one, you now had enough funds to pay that off.
Yes.
So what, I mean, so, and that has been your journey.
That has been the pattern, that has been the story, and that has been the journey. So what happens is, you know, for every time God has come through and this money matters for me, what has happened is I get a fresh understanding of the situation, my future, my past, and the present. So there are times when opportunities have come, 3 or 4 opportunities will come, and you're thinking, oh, this one is going to make me a lot more money, and I'll be debt-free quicker. But the truth is, you're getting into more trouble. And I had 1 or 2 of those. If you remember, you gave me a plan in order to prioritize the people I paid off. There were times when the pressure was too much, the embarrassment was too much from certain people, and just so I could pick up my phone and talk to them properly, I'll just pay them off. And maybe they were all the way down below the rota and stuff like that. So at times like that, you pick up the wrong job and then you get burnt, and then you take 2 steps back, you know, after going so far, you know. So yes, that has been the journey.
And then I remember in December, you sent me a message saying that you had paid off almost 80% of your debt.
Yes,
90% of your debt. So you have your 1.8 million naira debt in about a year,
yes.
Or less than a year.
Less than a year.
In less than a year. How did that make you feel?
I don't think, as of the ending of November, as of the beginning of December even, I don't think I knew that I would be debt-free. I'd always said it, that I wanted to be debt-free. But, you know, speak positively, all those kinds of things. I hoped for it. I wanted it real bad. But seeing the end of it was such a far, far, far journey for me, it seemed. As of August, I was discussing with a friend saying, oh, wow, I don't know what my January is going to be like because I don't have enough money to do my December, my seasonal gifts, so I doubt I'm going to make money over December. By December 3rd, I was getting phone calls for other kinds of opportunities, and they were all going to pay me, you know, things that I didn't need to purchase goods for. These were now services. So I was just being paid for my intelligence or, you know, expertise.
So that brought in extra income.
Brought in extra income. So, you know, 3, 4 of those down the line, I was able to make some major reductions on my balance sheet, really.
So, I mean, going forward, like, what advice would you give some of our viewers who are watching, who are in debt and think it's enormous? How are they going? They just can't see beyond the debt. What advice, you know, would you give them based on your own experiences and what you've learned?
For anybody, it's not about whether you're in debt or not. Anybody in business, you spoke about good debts and bad debts. I think if I owed that money, because like the money I ended with in December of 2013, I don't think the pressure would have been much, you know, which is where your good debt, bad debt comes in. Make smart decisions, make godly decisions. And I mean godly, like ask that you are doing the right thing. Test what it is that you are doing. Why are you doing those things? And if you will never lose if it comes to the things of God. If, as of the time I knew these things, or I had applied these theories, I probably would not have made that one last step that threw me into debt. Because I feel like debt is actually a trap. It's a cycle. You know, for you to get out of it, it's going to be a lot of work. It's not just a situation. I talked about feeling trapped, feeling embarrassed. The mental torture on its own, the psychological issues it can, you know, give you, you just don't want to go there. You know, the first step will be to open up your mind to what exactly am I doing? How is this going to benefit me? Get help. I don't know about money. I like to spend money. I didn't know anything, you know, and I went to ask for the help that I needed. Get the help, and if you're not going to use the help, then don't get it. Really, I was very reluctant to use the help, but I sought the help, and eventually I did use it. Stick to the plan. If I stuck to the plan, I may have been able to pay off this debt faster. Stick to your plan. Don't go outside your comfort zone. All the things you normally do, you're a fashion designer, for heaven's sake. They invite you to come and run a Marwa business. You're going to be making 50K a day. Don't touch it. Stay within your territory. You know, master your territory and stay there until you're ready to move forward in something you're prepared to lose on, when you can afford to lose. Take calculated decisions and calculated risks. That's just it.
Thank you very much, Timi, for sharing your story. I'm sure you've inspired a lot of people, and for them, they can see that it is possible. Viewers, I hope you've been inspired by Timi's story, and I hope it would also encourage you to get out of debt. We're in an economy now where there's a lot of debt being put in our faces. So you find that there are a lot of companies saying, go on holiday and you can pay 30% now and pay the rest later, or buy a tablet and you can pay over 12 months, or, you know, credit cards are available now. But the thing is, yeah, it's all a trap. And once you start, it's a never-ending trap. You just find yourself going into another debt and another debt and another debt. And at the end of the day, you won't even be able to achieve some financial goals, because you find that every month, if you're a salary earner or whenever you receive income, you're constantly paying off the debt that you have incurred. So there's no room for you to make plans for the future, or for bigger items like buying a home or buying land. And so you find that while you should be earning interest on maybe some of your investments or savings, you're paying out interest. And there's a big difference. You can be earning interest and paying out interest. So before we go, I'm just going to give you a few tips on how to be debt-free if you're already in debt. And the first thing is, believe it is possible. It all starts with the mind. The Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. Everything starts in the mind. You need to believe that you can do it. Once you believe that it's possible, then it is possible. The first thing, it always starts, when something is created, it's created twice. First in the mind of the creator, and then the second thing is, then it becomes, then the physical manifestation occurs. So the first thing is, you need to believe that you can do it. The second thing is, say no. So make a conscious effort not to get into debt again. No matter how difficult it is, try not to. There will be temptations. You have temptations to buy fabric for a wedding and you can't afford it, and you say, I'll pay later. Say no. It's very important. The second thing is to create a debt schedule. And what you do is you list out all your debts. You list them out, and you can list them in according to, it could be for according to priority. So these debts, you need to pay off these debts first, or it could be in terms of interest rate. So you put the highest interest rates first. Once you list out your debts, there's something therapeutic about writing down things. Once you write it down, it becomes clearer. In your mind, you will see it as you have debt and it's a burden. But when you put it on paper, you're breaking it down and you begin to see that, okay, out of 1.8 million, 100,000 is for company X. And you can pay off that 100,000. However, if you didn't write it down, your mind would just have the whole 1.8 in your head. But once you write it down, then you can articulate how you can begin to pay that off. So it's important to create a debt schedule. Then you develop a monthly budget. And it's very easy to create a budget. You list out your expenses and you list out your various sources of income. So it could be salary, it could be your allowances, dividends. You list out all your income and deduct the two. Once you create a budget, it helps you see the amount of income you have to pay off your debt. Because then you know that, okay, all your expenses have been taken care of, your monthly expenses. Then you see how much you have left. So you may find that you have 200,000 or 50,000 left every month. And out of that 50,000, after all your expenses have been taken care of, you can now begin to work out how you're going to pay off your debt. So it's important to develop a monthly budget. The second thing is start now and start small. There's this popular saying that, how do you eat a 5-ton elephant? One step at a time. You have to start small, and you have to start now. The key thing is just start. Then, multiple streams of income. Think of alternative sources of income. Ideally, you should have 4 to 5 sources of income. And when I say different sources of income, we're not talking about, it doesn't have to be something totally out of your business. No, if you're a coach, you can have audio CDs. You can also get fees from coaching. You can get fees from writing and blogging. You know, within your business line, create alternative sources of income that would help you pay your debt faster. Secondly, have an accountability partner. When you go on a journey with someone, it's always easier. Speak to a friend, a spouse, a partner. Or if on a professional basis, you can get a finance coach. Speak to someone to help you, to keep you accountable. So periodically, you basically have to report to that person and account for some of your expenses. And then learn, unlearn, and relearn. You need to grow. You need to keep growing. Buy books. There's so many books on money matters. There's so many books on personal finance. There are a lot of free resources on the internet. There are blogs. There's so much out there available for free that you can read. And you learn and begin to read and begin to learn things that would help you in your business and also in your personal life as well. I hope you've been inspired to get out of debt. I want to encourage you that it is doable. Timi has shared. There's so many other people that can share. I can also share from personal experiences as well. It's important. It's like going on a journey with a heavy load. You may still get to your destination, but you will get there longer. That's if you even make it at all. But once you take off the baggage, you get to your destination faster, and you can even do other things. So I encourage you and I implore you that in 2015, go out of debt. It is possible. As I said earlier on, it all starts with your mind. Thank you very much. Until next week, stay blessed.